What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters. Today is Tuesday, October 18th. I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Eric McCarty. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here. I had a busy weekend, a lot going on. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up, but I think I got everything under my belt ready to talk some football again today.
Hell yeah, man. And it was a crazy weekend, and we're going to be talking about just some of the NFL news and injuries happened over the week. Same thing we do every week. Give a little of our insight on who we think are going to be some good pickups for the week as well to help mitigate some of this, or even guys who might be coming back soon that you didn't know were on your radar. So we're going to go ahead and get into it with the first one that kind of hurt me the most out of, I think, everything that happened this weekend. Marquise Hollywood Brown. He was initially feared to have a season ending foot injury. It's now saying it might not be that serious, but it's possible he might only miss 6 weeks, but still a pretty substantial injury for Mr. Hollywood Brown. They're fearing, I believe they were fearing it was a lens frac, and it was the same foot as he had initially hurt coming into his NFL career. Eric, you got any insight for that one?
Not too much additionally, but yeah, they were worried that it was the same Liz Frank that he had injured, like you said, his rookie year. Or I guess it was prior to his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he may have avoided that. 6 weeks is still going to be a long time at this point, considering we're already 6 weeks in. DeAndre Hopkins comes back for this team. Rondell Moore seems to have increased in his role in production. And also, kind of getting into our second piece of news, Robbie Anderson got traded from the Panthers to the Cardinals. It's funny, it came a day after being sent to the locker room during Sunday's game to an argument that he had with the new Panthers head coach Steve Wilkes. I didn't get to see that game. I didn't see any of that unfold. Did you happen to see any of the video on that?
I saw it live. It was it was insane. Like to watch them going back and forth like that. And at first I was like, oh, that's just one of the coordinators. And I took a closer look and I was like, oh wait, no, that's the head coach. They were going back and forth, like they had to be separated by players and other coaches. Like it looked like they were almost on the verge of like fist being thrown.
Jeez,
Yeah.
that's wild.
So like when I saw he got ejected from the game, I wasn't surprised because he just for some I don't understand why he was as mad as he was. I don't know what the argument was about. Obviously because we weren't there, but it seemed pretty. Robbie Anderson seemed pretty fed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Panthers situation is a total shit show, but I guess I can kind of understand Robbie's frustrations considering PJ Walker, I don't think completed a pass beyond the line of scrimmage all of Sunday. I
Yeah.
think I looked at his passing chart and I'm pretty sure every single pass was behind the line of scrimmage.
And then,
So
not to
it was a rough
mention
day.
that before the season started, he was very openly saying he didn't want Baker Mayfield at the Panthers as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of stuff isn't going his way, and this was probably the best they could do. They ended up getting a sixth and the seventh round pick. It was like a 2024 sixth and the 2023 seventh. I might have those flip flopped, but wasn't that what the trade ended up being from?
I, I think that's correct. Yeah, honestly, for the Panthers, I'll take it. Robbie hasn't wanted to be there, and I think they gave him a pretty big contract, so they're getting that off the books. I'm not sure how much they're going to be on the hook for. Um, but yeah, probably both for good for both sides for them to split. And just to touch back on Hollywood Brown, like considering all of the receivers that are going to be coming back or new to the team, and with how long he's going to be out, and like if he's going to be 100% when he does come back, potentially in 6 weeks or whatever. What is your sentiment like rest of season on Hollywood Brown? Are you keeping him? Are you hoping to trade him to somebody that has time to wait? Is he a drop? What are you thinking?
I'm kind of hoping to trade him with these foot injuries, especially like a Lens Frank type issue. We've seen Hollywood Brown kind of struggle with these, like we said earlier on in his career, and he was okay as a wide receiver prospect, but he wasn't great. It's never really great having a player with a that has to make explosive moves and make those foot cuts and stuff like that with an injured foot. But it could be he makes it through these 6 weeks and he's fine. I think when he comes back, he's still going to be a highly valued player on this team. It's just going to be a
Yeah,
matter of how good to go he is by the time he does come back. So if he comes
right.
back and
And
he's good to go, none of my opinion on him has changed whatsoever. But
yeah, the thing is, the timeline is iffy too. Like that 6 weeks is really just a guess. It seems like at this point, he's going for a second opinion to see, how severe the injury is. Um, yeah, if it were me, like you said, I think I'm probably looking to trade him to somebody who's like 6-0, 5-1, a good team that has time to wait for him, um, and see if I can get something usable for these next 6 weeks or more going forward. But yeah, he was having a great season. He was a guy that I targeted in drafts really heavily. I have him on a lot of my teams, so this is a tough blow, but something that you got to deal with throughout the season.
Yeah, definitely agreed. And then staying in the Cardinals locker room, DeAndre Hopkins' suspension is over, so he is set to return this week. I believe he's already been at practice with the team. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we're gearing up for a DeAndre Hopkins return. How do you see this shaking out for just this Cardinals receiver group? Because it's just as varied as it is now.
So it's funny. We talked all that stuff about the receivers and the turnover. Their team is just bad.
Yeah,
Cliff Kingsbury is terrible. I'm hoping that he's on the way out soon. I don't know who they would bring in to replace him necessarily, or if it would get much better this season. But Kyler hasn't looked great. He finally used his legs again this week. I think he got over 100 yards rushing, so that helped his fantasy floor. But as a team, they're just really bad. DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like we've seen a little bit of a decline from him last season. So I'm not super hopeful that he's going to come in right away and be like a back end wide receiver one, high end wide receiver two. Uh, I think I'm just lowering my expectations for everybody across the board on this offense.
yeah, I definitely agree. I don't see him sliding in and immediately being a superstar. I don't really see him being a superstar at all this year. I do see him being like a good receiver option. I'm not by any means saying DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be good,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, and I know you aren't either. But it's just this team, the way it's been operating, we don't really know. Before Hollywood Brown got hurt, we don't know who's going to be the guy to really step up and take on this role. We assume it's going to be D Hop just because he's here. But I don't know, man. I could see Rondale Moore even getting like being the guy in this offense in Hollywood Brown's absence. It's just, but that just goes to show how inconsistent they've been because we don't know what kind of offense they're even trying to run over here in Arizona.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I think Hopkins is going to be incredibly necessary, and he's probably going to get a ton of targets. It's just I don't know how valuable they're going to be. I assume a lot of them are going to be close to the line of scrimmage. It might not be explosive plays that we're getting from him, but yeah, I think he'll be consistent as long as he's on the field and healthy. And like you said, Rondell Moore is probably going to have to take a step up too. If he's somebody that's still on your waiver wire, he's definitely a priority add now that Marquise Brown is out. But I feel like he was probably picked up a lot last week.
yeah,
So I don't know how available he's going to be.
yeah, I mirror that sentiment as well. And moving on to the next piece of news, we got Russell Wilson, who after every game now they're just saying he's got a different injury. This week he's dealing with a hamstring strain that he occurred during last. God, why did that sentence end up so messed up for me? Oh my God.
Rewind, run it back.
Yeah. Russell Wilson's dealing with a hamstring strain that happened during yesterday's game, according to Nathaniel Hackett. Got it that time.
Perfect.
Um, I just, do you think he's going to miss any time because of this hamstring strain? I mean, we don't know how serious it is. We just got this news, so I don't,
Yeah,
I don't even know if this changes the Broncos for me, even if Russell Wilson doesn't play, so.
it probably doesn't, man. Yeah, we don't have any sort of time frame or severity news as far as his hamstring. He's still dealing with kind of a shoulder injury, I think, as well. I don't know, man. This team is terrible. Again, the bad coaching. Nathaniel Hackett hasn't been great. Russell Wilson, healthy or injured, has been terrible. Like you said, it might not even matter if he misses. Who do they have as their backup? Like Mark Rippon? Brett Rippon.
Yeah, I hope you're correct, because I don't even know. I don't know.
Doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They might even do better than Russell Wilson, honestly. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So dealing with that injury, it's not really a meter mover in fantasy football. Like if this was last year, 2 years ago, this would have been big news. But with the way he's been playing this year, you might as well have said. There's a lot of quarterbacks you could have said other than Russell Wilson. Like this next piece of news, Carson Wentz. He's gonna miss 4 to 6 weeks after fracturing his finger on Sunday.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We're gonna get Taylor Heineke in there. The team might even be a little bit better. Who knows? Honestly,
Who knows?
The Commanders haven't decided yet whether they're gonna place him on IR. I know with this second opinion, the timeline is pushing more towards that 4 weeks, and with even a possibility of him coming back before then. But I'm not really concerned about it. He continued to play after he fractured this finger, and nothing really changed for me play-wise for him. He's still just throwing the same passes. I'm sure it affected something, but this is more so just to say, Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke might be an interesting ad, possibly. This may bump up some receivers for Washington, maybe. Taylor Heineke's a little bit better at extending plays and playing backyard football, and he likes throwing the ball to Terry McLaurin, so he might actually be a viable fantasy option. I'm not really positive about anything with this Commanders team. Again, this is another injury that doesn't really move the meter too much. It just makes things a little bit more interesting. Eric, you look like you got something you want to say about this one.
Taylor Heineke's not good, man.
He's not.
He's not a meter mover. I respect your opinion and all, but none of what you said is the truth. It's not. The wide receivers are not going to take a bump. Taylor Heineke is not worth an ad. Don't touch this offense. No, stay away. It's going to be awful.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. You should definitely listen to Eric on this one.
You're just being too optimistic. I'm down in the dumps. 25 years of pain and suffering with this team. No, dude, stay away. It's a dumpster fire.
It really is. It's a mess. Stay away from the whole Commander situation. Probably for the rest of this year, maybe for the next couple of years. As long as Dan Snyder owns the team, stay away from that situation. Honestly,
that is the biggest. That's the most important thing we've ever said. Dan Snyder, as long as he's attached to this team, just don't. It's like there's 31 teams in the NFL. Don't worry about them. Don't worry about them.
Yeah, you got plenty of other players, man. Just leave them be. And again, moving on to the next.
Let's move on.
Yeah, so some more positive news. Mr. Chris Olave was taken off the injury report. Clears he's fully recovered from his concussion that he suffered. What was it, 2 weeks ago? It's now going on.
I believe, he missed last week with it.
Yeah, so some positive news for the rookie. Saints get back another weapon that they've been absolutely hurting for at this point. It's seeming like it's just the Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara show out there lately, and getting them back should be good. What do you think about that one, Eric? That's within clearing concussion protocol.
Yeah, I think it's huge. They missed Olave, Michael Thomas, and Jarvis Landry last week, and somehow they still played a pretty competitive game with Cincinnati with almost no offensive weapons. Andy Dalton leading the way, but that kind of leads us into our next piece of news that, Jameis has been missing a bunch of weeks with a back and ankle injury. Andy Dalton is now on the injury report after last week with a back injury. Both of them listed as limited on Monday's estimated injury report ahead of their early Thursday game. So, Taysom Hill.
Oh, hey, man. Hey, look. This year, bro, I got no Taysom Hill real estate. I don't need to be involved in Taysom Gate when he starts at quarterback and he's still a tight end in fantasy and he scores somebody a 40 piece down there. I got nothing. Yeah. I got my hands are off it this year.
I traded for him last week. I'll take the heat, bro. I can't wait. People start yelling at me. It's going to be fantastic. Taysom in the tight end spot, putting up quarterback numbers.
And it's just like all the people who are upset at, like, I guess, ESPN or anything like that for having Taysom in this category. I don't know what do you do with them? You don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Unless you make him a flex only player, which I don't even know if that's possible. There's nothing you can really do about this. And you got to think about the circumstances. It's not like he's the backup second string quarterback at this point. They've had to get through 2 other quarterbacks to get here. So if you land on the opposite side of that this week, that's just tough. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We don't make the rules. Don't be mad at your league mates when they start them because that's just smart fantasy football. To have them not play, you're asking someone to be willfully stupid, and that's just not fair. So
it is what it is.
Yeah. Buck up, take your loss. It is what it is.
Yeah. I'm gonna need it too. We're getting into the heat of bye weeks. I got Jalen Hurts on bye. I got a bunch of Eagles, and I know Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, all those guys are on bye. So there's a lot of important fantasy pieces that are going to be missing. Taysom Hill might be playing a pretty important role for some teams this week.
Oh yeah, he's got the potential to win some guys, some games this week.
Yeah.
And then some more positive news. We've got, barring any setbacks, Mr. Tua. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Tagovailoa? Is that Tagovailoa? Close. It's expected to start this week. Um, I don't really know how this really makes me feel, to be honest with you. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take this one to start out.
I mean, I don't have a ton of like, I don't know, real medical information to give you, but yeah, it just feels kind of sketchy after what we've seen happen to him on the field. The first concussion he had this year, he got up all wobbly. That was scary. Comes in, plays the next game, has the fencing response and the finger thing. Yeah, it was wild. I'm concerned for his health, but I can't imagine that after all of the negative press and news that surrounded that situation, that the NFL would allow for him to come back and like not be ready, not be medically cleared. Like I feel like they had to have played it safe. He should be okay if he's going to start. So I don't think that the team is going to be doing anything wrong. I don't think he's going to be at risk. It feels weird.
Yeah, I think that is a good point. I feel like if they were going maybe the least safe route, he may have played last week. There's a chance he could have played last week. So I guess, yeah, to have him wait till this week. Do you think this is an upgrade for the Dolphins? Obviously, getting them back to that, I guess, earlier season form with having their starting quarterback back.
Probably. I mean, they looked pretty good. So it was a weird situation last week. They started Skylar Thompson, and then he went down fairly early, I think with like a thumb or a finger injury, something like that. And then Teddy came in and played really well and supported Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to really, really good fantasy weeks.
That was a little bit confusing that they didn't start Teddy Bridgewater even though he was healthy enough to play.
Right. Yeah. I didn't get that either. And clearly he was the better option. He, got the ball moving for that team, won them the game. But yeah, I think Tua is the best of all three of them. Even if I don't necessarily think he's like a crazy upgrade over Teddy. I think it's a little bit of an upgrade, and yeah, I think it'll be positive for this team overall.
Yeah, I agree. I just hope he's okay. I hope they can they can protect him a little bit better. I hope that he just gets a little bit better luck going forward, and we don't have to see anything else scary on the field like that. So
for sure,
here's hoping for the best. And some more positive news: we got Dak Prescott. He's expected to return to practice this week. He's been kind of at soft practices in the past couple weeks, just like getting used to gripping the ball and throwing it. And he's hopeful to play soon. I believe. No, I'm not going to say that. I don't know if that's true or not. I want to say I saw a report that he was listed as limited before last week's game, but they were like, he's not going to play, but he is going to be at least listed as limited or questionable.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I think he was limited in a practice prior to the game, and then he took part in pregame warmups. He mentioned that he felt great during that, had no issues gripping the ball, felt like he was spinning it pretty well. And so it sounds like he's probably going to play this week. And, with Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy, the way that they've been talking, I'm sure they're going to be pressing him to get in. And Cooper Rush, his experiment is now over after 2 weeks of just really abysmal quarterback play, which, isn't his fault. He's a backup. He's gotten his team to a decent record in Dak's absence. So, yeah, hopefully he's back this week, and we'll see if that's a considerable upgrade for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I low-key kind of hope they lose and then Cooper Rush comes back. But hey, honestly, it's good to see Dak Prescott back. Good to see him back healthy. So it'll be interesting to see what this Cowboys team looks like going forward. And staying in the Cowboys locker room, we got Dalton Schultz, who tweaked his injured knee on Saturday, which is why he's listed as inactive on Sunday. people were kind of surprised to see that report, so they kind of did have to be quick with getting that news out to let people know what happened. Um, Going forward, how do you see this injury going forward? This him tweaking this injured knee that he's been playing with.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because he wasn't doing much. Obviously, he's been playing through this injury, so that's been tough for him. But he wasn't showing nearly the same rapport with Cooper Rush that he had with Dak Prescott last year. I was pretty excited because he got dropped in our league. I know that he's probably been dropped in a few other leagues just because he's been so disappointing as a fantasy producer. I thought he was going to be a decent pickup with Dak about to come back. But now that he's retweaked this knee, I think he's kind of like re-injured or re-aggravated it a couple times since he initially injured it early on this season.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's going to be something he's dealing with the rest of the way. And if he's not 100%, like I don't think he's so crazy talented by himself. Like I thought it was more of a situational thing and a connection between him and Dak. So if he's hampered and not 100%, I don't know that he's really worth, I don't know, starting as a top 12 guy.
Yeah, it's like you said, it is tough to see a top 12 finish coming from him at this point in the season. And it's like by the time I feel like he would be a viable fantasy option, it's like you're a little bit late into the season to be starting him. You know, like you're getting close to the playoffs. It might be crunch time. A little bit too late to be experimenting with players. So if he does come back and he is able to recover by the end of the season, I guess keep an eye on it. But other than that, like you said, I don't see him being a great option right now. But that's just kind of the tight end landscape for us in general. But
Yeah, tight ends look rough. I was just gonna say like things have kind of solidified a little bit, like the David Njoku's of the world, the Tyler Higbees. Even though he had a down week, I expect better things from him. Those guys have established themselves as high end, not high end, but as close as you're going to get to high end outside of Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. So yeah, there's probably like a clear top 6 or so, but outside of that, I guess you can take dart throws at a guy like Dalton Schultz if you don't have a better option.
yeah, I agree because it's just really been rough.
Yeah.
And then we've got J.K. Dobbins, whose knee tightened up during the game, according to John Harbaugh, which is why he had such a quiet second half. He was a lot less involved in that second half. This was a big game for Kenyon Drake in J.K. Dobbins' absence. Going forward, do you see this continuing to be an issue?
Tough to say as far as like his health and his knee. I'm not sure how much he's going to be hampered by that. You know, it was a really significant injury that he's coming back from. It wasn't just the ACL. He tore multiple ligaments and I think his quad. So it's impressive that he's even back on the field at this point. But regardless of his health, I do think this is going to be a committee going forward. Not the next piece of news, but the piece after. We'll talk about that now. Gus Edwards has a chance to be reactivated, or not reactivated, but activated this week against the Browns. And Kenyon Drake showed that he's still got some gas left in the tank. He looked good last week, so I think they're gonna give carries to all 3 of these guys, and maybe even Justice Hill when he comes back healthy.
Yeah, it's looking like the NFL just as a whole is moving towards a committee approach as opposed to just like a team having a bell cow. Like you still have your one-off teams every once in a while, but like it seems like every team is sort of moving towards that committee. And I think that is like all in all career-wise, I think that is the best move for these guys. To share some of that workload, and this should give J.K. Dobbins a little bit more time to, get a little bit healthier. I think Gus Edwards coming back it's gonna be. I think it's gonna end up being a downgrade for Kenyon Drake, of course, because you're gonna get a guy back who's more familiar with the system and is that downhill, sort of tanky runner in Gus Edwards. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins, like you said with the knee, that was a serious injury that he had. So seeing any type of setbacks like this, it is a little bit scarier for me as well. But considering the team is being cautious with them like they are, I don't think it's going to be a super serious situation. Like, I think they are going to give him the time to get a little bit healthier as needed. So,
yeah.
But
I would just lower expectations for him. Like we saw that big kind of what we thought was going to be a breakout game with the 2 touchdowns. I think he went for over 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that happening very often. I think, like I said, it's going to be a big committee, even if he's healthy. So he's going to be limited by that. But I do want to ask you,
Hmm.
Kenyon Drake, going forward, probably not going to be a super consistent fantasy option with this committee going on. But for this week alone, if J.K. Dobbins is still hampered by the knee, and if Gus Edwards doesn't make it back, which is still fairly high possibility, is he worth picking up and starting this week?
Yeah, I think he'd be good for a spot start, especially since we're starting to get
Yeah,
into those bye weeks and whatnot.
right.
I think he'd be a
Yeah,
good
that was
spot
kind of what I
start.
had in mind. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to get your opinion on that. I agree. I think it's definitely like a 1 week thing. I'm not expecting a ton going forward, but with bye weeks hitting heavy like they are right now, I think he might be worth just a 1 week ad.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And then staying in the Ravens locker room, John Harbaugh says Rashad Bateman is close to returning from his foot sprain, so a little bit more optimistic news. Getting their number one receiver back should help the team out a lot. But this Ravens team is just kind of terrible at closing games out still.
Yeah,
So
I saw a crazy stat. So it was even crazier. They were 2-2, and they had trailed for a total of 16 seconds on the season, and still managed to lose 2 games. Now they're 3-3, and they've trailed for a total of 120 seconds. I don't know how they're doing it. They're managing to lose all these games at the end of the fourth quarter. They're winning the whole time and then blowing it. It's crazy, man. I don't know what's going on.
yeah, it's like you want to win up until the end of the game, and that's a bold move. It's a very bold move, and hasn't worked out
Yeah,
for him too often.
yeah.
But
As far as Rashad Bateman is concerned, I saw, I've followed the fantasy Twitter doctors, stuff like that. I saw that typically for a midfoot sprain like this, the injury return timeline is around 2 to 3 weeks. I believe this is going to be the third week uh, of that timeline, so it's a pretty good chance he comes back. Although Harbaugh wasn't super clear, he just said he's close to returning. We'll see what happens, but like you said, this team clearly needs him. Um, I think what's the Isaiah Likely, the rookie tight end? I think he was their like second leading receiver, but he had like 2 catches and barely any yards. It was
sheesh.
rough. Yeah, it was Mark Andrews and nobody else. Devin Duvernay had 1 catch. I don't know. They clearly need an explosive playmaker like Rashad Bateman back.
Yeah. So hopefully, him coming back is a bump up for this team for sure. And yeah, I guess brighter days are ahead for the Ravens now that they're starting to get some of their players back, but it only stands to be seen. And moving into the next piece of news, staying in the AFC North, we got Kenny Pickett suffered a concussion during the Steelers' victory over the Bucks, which nobody saw coming, by the way. But
Nobody.
yeah, Kenny Pickett goes down, which I guess puts Mitchell Trubisky back in the driver's seat. Did you see any of the news about like why Mitch got benched in the first place?
In favor of Kenny Pickett initially.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was poor play. Is there like some news specifically that I was missing?
Well, I had seen an article recently. Let me make sure I'm gonna check it out now because I don't want to be quoting somebody who's not trustworthy. But I saw
Yeah.
something where it was like he had gotten into an argument with Deontay Johnson during a game, like during that game
Oh,
where Deontay Johnson was saying you need to play better, you need to throw me the ball more, and Mitch wasn't going like that, and they got into a pretty big argument in the locker room to the point where the coaches were like, "Yeah, we're putting Kenny out there. You can't be out there right now."
damn. No, I did not see that, but definitely an interesting storyline.
Yeah,
Um,
if it's true, I don't want to. Oh, yep. That's Sports Illustrated. Steelers bench Mitchell Trubisky after confrontation with teammate per report. So it wasn't strictly just based on his play. It was based on him getting having beef with the number one receiver on the team, and that's never really
yeah,
something you want from one of your quarterbacks. So yeah, that was
yeah.
something I literally saw yesterday. That receiver Deontay
Okay.
Johnson might be the reason why Trubisky was benched.
I mean, like, yeah, that's good to know. That's important context, and I think it probably played a part. But there wouldn't have been beef if he wasn't playing like trash.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
I think that's still heavily involved. But hey, I mean, they won the game. They beat the Bucks, which was crazy. Um, Chase Claypool had kind of a breakout game, if you want to call it. I don't know how. consistent that's going to be. But he was targeted heavily. I think he caught 7 passes for almost 100 yards and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any sort of change of the guard in this wide receiver core, or are you expecting kind of the same as what we saw early season?
Nope. I don't expect anything. I think this team is a shit show, and whoever eats one week is going to be the person that eats that week, and we're never going to be able to guess who it is. Especially with Mitch Trubisky throwing the ball out there.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. And then a little bit of the scarier news that came out of that game as well. Cameron Brate was taken off the field on the backboard on Sunday. So far, he's been diagnosed with a strained neck, but not a concussion. One of the scarier injuries, you hate to see those sort of spinal cord injuries, especially in football. It's always really scary. But it is good to see that it wasn't anything super crazy. But in the moment, scary to see. Hope a speedy recovery for Cameron Brate. Fantasy-wise, I guess for me, since that is something we got to talk about, this is a fantasy football show. This doesn't really change too much fantasy-wise for me. Was Cameron Brate really involved in this offense that I didn't maybe have missed out on?
Not a ton. I think him being out makes room for Cade Otton, the rookie tight end for the Bucs.
True.
In Cameron Brate's absence, Otton has actually performed pretty well and gotten targeted fairly heavily. So I think, especially in Dynasty, if he's somebody that hasn't been picked up, he's probably worth a stash. I'm not sure if I necessarily trust him to be started in season long yet, but he's worth keeping an eye on for sure. And also, I don't know how long Cameron Brate is going to be out. It seems like he avoided what could have been really bad. He's dealt with, I don't know if it's been multiple concussions, but it seems like multiple head injuries so far this season. So they might keep him out just to be safe. But yeah, I think Cade Otton is just somebody worth looking at.
Okay. That's fair. And then a little bit more of the scarier injury news. We got Randall Cobb. He was carted off due to an ankle injury. I believe after the game, Aaron Rodgers kind of called a shot and was like, "No, I think he'll be okay. I don't think it's anything season-ending." And people were like, "Whatever, Dr. Aaron Rodgers." And then the news came out and said he's not expected to be season-ending, as people have feared. So maybe Aaron Rodgers had a little bit of laurels in that. I wouldn't go to Aaron Rodgers for any medical advice ever. Ever.
No.
But with Randall Cobb...
Let's reiterate.
Yeah.
Ever.
Never. With Randall Cobb down, this is obviously Aaron Rodgers is losing one of his favorite targets on this team. So this really should, I guess, bump up some other people. Who do you think receives a bump off of this Randall Cobb going down for however long he's going to be gone?
I mean, Lazard and Dobbs.
Yeah.
They've been the guys that have been, the 1A and 1B in this offense anyway. They've been getting heavily targeted. This Packers offense has just been bad in general. They just came off a whooping by the Jets, 27-10, right?
Yeah, 27-10.
It was bad. Did you hear? I'm not 100% sure if this is true, but the Packers were coming off of a London game last week. And so they had the option to take their bye this week after the London game.
They should have took the bye.
Yeah, I assume all this happened like preseason, but they saw that their alternative would have been to play the Jets, and they were like, "Nah, we'll play the Jets."
That pretty much is a bye week. We'll be all right.
Nope, y'all suck. I guess it opens things up. The tight target split that they already had is going to be even tighter to Dobbs and Lazard, and I guess Robert Tonyan had a good game. I think he caught 10 passes for 90 yards.
Yeah, 12 targets.
Good. Yeah. I don't know what to expect going forward, honestly, with this team. I know that we're just talking about injuries, but the running back situation has been terrible. The usage for Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon has been perplexing to me. I don't know what they're doing.
They literally just lied. I don't know why they did that, but they just lied. I don't understand it. I've talked about it on previous weeks. They just lied. They said, "Oh, these guys are going to both be on the field at the same time." I don't think I've yet to see a play where that's even happened this year. I don't think that's even happened
once. Yeah.
But it's this team is a mess right now. They're a mess, and it's all Christian Kirk's fault.
It all comes full circle.
It all comes back to Christian Kirk.
That's funny. All right, but enough crapping on the Packers. We'll get on to the next piece of news. Kyle Shanahan says that there's a chance that Trent Williams could be back to play this week.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting game this week for the 49ers. They lost to the Falcons and they got down big early. Game script was not the typical game script that you would see. You know, they've had a lockdown defense. They've been able to stop opposing offenses and just run the ball all over everybody. But Jeff Wilson had a terrible game, barely got involved at all because they had to throw so much. But that meant that Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle all had really high target games and really pretty good fantasy producing games. So Trent Williams coming back obviously is going to be a positive for that team overall. But what do you think we can expect from this offense as far as like their run to pass ratio going forward?
If Trent Williams comes back and he's playing at the same level he was playing at before, which is the best left tackle in the league, this team should be able to run the ball better. And with them getting some of their running backs back off of injury, like I know Tyrion Davis-Price coming back, Elijah Mitchell set to come back soon. I think this gets into more of that 49ers, all right, we got 8 running backs, we got a committee, we're running this down your throats until you can stop it, and we're making Jimmy throw the ball when he has to. So I think we're going to get more to that older brand of 49ers football that we're used to seeing. So these high target games, I don't see them popping up again all too much, but it's a possibility. But I do think the run game is going to get a little bit more stable going forward.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think the thing that we have to keep the most eye on is just the health of their defense, because that's kind of what's been determining game scripts for them. They've been stopping the opposing offenses, and so they haven't had to throw the ball a lot. And so if the injuries persist and they're not as good of a defense as they have been to start the season, then they're going to be forced to throw the ball more. But I think that you're totally right. That's probably what Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers want to do, is to run the ball and lean on that aspect.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see how they roll going forward. That is a great point, though. Their defense has been going through a lot lately. They've had a lot of losses, a lot of hits to that defense, so they aren't as sturdy as they usually are. So moving into the next piece of news, we got Deshaun Jackson. He visited with the Ravens. Who were the other teams that he said that he would be willing to go to as well that he wanted to visit? It was one other team. I believe one of them may have been the Packers.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I didn't see. I wasn't sure what his deal was, but clearly the Ravens are desperate for wide receiver help. Like I said, Rashad Bateman is going to be really important getting him back, and they're just grasping at straws at this point.
Yeah, they need something over there, and I don't know. I don't think Deshaun Jackson is the fix, honestly. There's been a good amount of trade rumors going around with like the Panthers and them selling off a lot of assets, so it's a possibility they might be able to land somebody. But I don't think Deshaun Jackson is really the answer. But it is good to see that he's still out here, he's still active, and Deshaun Jackson hasn't really been bad. Obviously, he's hit a fall off point, but he hasn't been a bad player, I guess.
It was worth bringing up, but he's not going to be a fantasy asset. He's probably not going to be a difference maker for the Ravens. Real quick, we don't have to talk about this for very long, but what the hell is going on with Will Fuller, man? He's still sitting out there in free agency, and people are bringing in Deshaun Jackson for visits?
Yeah, Will Fuller, is Will Fuller good?
Yes, I mean when he's healthy, and well, I guess when
he was healthy and on the roids, he was good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
At least, maybe that's it. I don't know. I heard that he might be like dealing with some personal issues. Isn't sure if he wants to come back to the NFL to begin with. So I think that's part of the lack of team interest, or just because we haven't heard his name. But
I will say dealing with injuries and stuff, especially as much as Will Fuller has, it can take a toll, as we've seen with players like Andrew Luck, who career ended way too early. But dealing with injuries and having to constantly rehab and come back does a lot to you.
Penny.
Yeah, Rashad Penny. Hoping to see him come back, but if he were to say he's done, I wouldn't be surprised because he's seen a lot. He's been injured more than he's played football at this point.
Yeah.
But it is kind of crazy. And then moving into our last little piece of news we got here. We got one that honestly surprised me going into Sunday, or I guess Saturday kind of was when it started.
Yeah.
But Cam Akers does not want to be with an LA Ram anymore. The Rams do not want him there anymore. He was removed, or he was scratched from the game for, they listed personal reasons, which became more apparent to us later that it was really for football reasons and his interactions with the just coaching staff and this team. What do you have to say about this one, Eric? Because I was baffled to see it, honestly.
Yeah. So what I heard is that Cam Akers was frustrated with his role.
Okay.
He wanted an increased role, and I don't think the team was willing to give it to him. I think there's been mutual kind of frustration between the two parties, but it seems like, at least from what the Rams have been saying outwardly to the media, they're not anti Cam Akers. They don't hate Cam Akers, but they think that he deserves a fresh start somewhere else. Regardless of whether or not they find a trade partner, it sounds like he's not going to be playing for the Rams again. I just don't know who's going to trade for Cam right now. Like, running backs have almost no value to begin with on the trade market. And with a guy that's coming off an Achilles injury and hasn't really shown to be back to his full self, who's going to want him?
Yeah, I think at this point he's going to end up getting released. Because like you said, I
Yeah.
don't see anybody trading for him, especially at this point in the season. After seeing what he's done to this point, I don't think he's a huge asset. I think there's teams that would be willing to pick him up if he were just, released and on waivers. But other than that, I don't see him. I don't see this being a move. I don't see the Rams getting any type of assets back from this. They're just gonna have to eat the money that they got to cut him for and let him go at this point.
Yeah, as far as fantasy implications for the Rams backfield without Akers, Darrell Henderson is going to be the one, and he found his way into the end zone last week and kind of salvaged his week, but it was still really inefficient. Still wasn't getting like bell cow usage. I think 8 players got carries for the Rams last week. And as soon as Kyron Williams gets back and healthy, this team has been talking about how much they love him and want to get him involved. I don't think he's going to be that good, but if the team likes him and wants to use him, he's going to get in there. So I don't think that Darrell Henderson going forward is going to be like an RB1 that you can count on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this Rams team has really been a mess. Outside of like Cooper Kupp, I don't see too many really bright shining spots. I know Allen Robinson had a decent game finally. Woohoo, I guess. But yeah, this Rams team really just doesn't. It's tough to find any type of offensive identity for this team besides get the ball to Cooper Kupp, because that's literally all I feel like I see. It's get the ball to Cooper Kupp or the guys that look like Cooper Kupp, because Cooper Kupp's covered. And that's pretty much it. It's I guess Darrell Henderson gets his opportunity, which it makes me a little bit nervous because we've never really seen Darrell Henderson last an entire season as well. So I think Kyron Williams will be worth a pickup just off that aspect. He's going to end up seeing the field at some point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And also, we're just piling on the Rams at this point, but I think their left tackle, Joe Noteboom, tore his Achilles and is going to be out for the season. And their offensive line was already really, really bad. So it's only going to get worse for all phases of this offense, passing and running, I think.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize how much Andrew Whitworth really did for this team until he's gone now. And it's like, damn, the old man really kept them all in line. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But yeah, this team doesn't really have an identity right now besides Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, it's definitely rough for the Rams. We mentioned this last week too. The Super Bowl hangover for the Rams and the Bengals has been crazy.
Yeah.
Just really disappointing performances. But that will wrap it up for our Week 6 injury recap. Thank you for sticking with us. I hope you gained some information from this. If you did, leave us a like. That would help us out a lot. It would be much appreciated. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, all that good YouTube stuff. We would love you for that. Will, you want to hit the people with anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, make sure you guys check us out on our other socials as well. You can follow us. Our links to our Twitters are down in the bio. Eric likes to post a lot of fantasy football stuff before games, even the stuff you wouldn't think about, like weather updates, stuff like that. So definitely give him a follow. Give the people he follows a follow. Give me a follow if you like to see me shit talk NFL players and coaches, because I do that a good amount on my page. And also follow our TikTok. We've been going through there and we've been putting up waiver wire updates, our starts, sits of the week. We've even got a fun little spin the wheel challenge going right now. So definitely some good content coming from over here, and we're hoping you guys can join the community and be a part of it. And if you made it this far in the video, like we always say, you know, we love you. And we hope to see you again later this week. Peace.
Peace.
I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning again. I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting the end.